In the endlessly vast trenches of Japanese mythology, there's the legend of an 8-headed and 8-tailed serpent. It's Orochi, a demon dragon-like serpent who inflicts fear and terror in the hearts of the populace. He's supposed to be a literal nightmare, the embodiment of hopelessness, a wretched evil who needs to be extinguished from the face of this earth. As far as the mythology goes, this diabolic force of nature is ultimately defeated by the storm god Susanoo. It happens because of a few rather convenient turn of events. Susanoo gets banished from heaven and descends upon the earth, but he finds an elderly couple just gasping and crying out in agony in the vicinity of a mountain. They explain that they had 8 daughters, but every year Orochi would take one as a sacrifice. They've already lost 7 of them, and now before long their 8th and final daughter will suffer the same fate. Hearing this, Susanoo declares that he'll destroy Orochi. He's the brother of the sun goddess after all, but in return, he'd like their daughter's hand in marriage. That's basically the gist of how this Japanese mythology goes, but as you all know, this myth has inspired an extraordinarily large deal of original storylines and pieces of media. For example, even One Piece had a wretched dude named Orochi as one of the primary antagonists of Wano, and of course, his devil fruit allowed him to turn into a literal 8-headed serpent. But guys, we can still get much higher. Here we're going to delve into an even more dramatic, emotionally taxing, and above all, compelling story inspired by the renowned myth of Orochi. Stick with me guys, we'll also be doing a choose your ending so that you can avoid some overpowered emotional butterflies. Spoiler alert, you won't. Well then, let's go. Before delving into the current state of events, let's go back thousands of years into the past. Orochi has let loose 7 deadly gods upon the populace, who constantly kickstart an era of constant sin, fear, and pain. It's pure, unadulterated chaos. That is, until a certain someone descends from the skies. You guessed it, bud, it's Susanoo. He beautifully, yet single-handedly, destroys the 7 gods who plagued the lands and then captures Orochi. Orochi was going to be executed because, of course he was, and so the execution takes place in the abode of the gods, otherwise known as Takamagahara. Unfortunately, Orochi already knew things were going to turn out this way. He uses his presence in Takamagahara as an opportunity to let loose and lay waste to this place. Susanoo has to confront him once again, or else both Takamagahara and the world would meet their ultimate ends. And so the priority was no longer to execute Orochi. It was to keep Takamagahara and the world safe. And in doing so, Susanoo seals Orochi at the cost of his own life. But that was not the end. Rather, it was just the beginning. A few thousand years later, the seal on Orochi will be broken once again. However, as it turns out, a divine visionary named Susabi had already foreseen this reality, even before any of those events took place. He knew that Susanoo would kill the 7 gods and capture Orochi, but Orochi would then try to destroy Takamagahara and make it fall upon the world. Though of course Susanoo would lose his life in trying to prevent this outcome, but even so, Orochi will ultimately reawaken thousands of years later. It is unavoidable. But at that time, no one would be able to take him on. Susabi shares this Susanoo, and for the sake of everything that is yet to be protected, Susanoo resolves himself to travel to the future. He'll deal with the future Orochi first, and once he's done, he'll return back to the past and die while sealing the current Orochi. This way, Orochi will ultimately die by his hands in the future. Just like that, Susanoo sets out to 1,000 years into the future, exactly when Orochi is about to consume a young psychic girl named Kagura. Susanoo saves Kagura, and they bail. For an instant, she sees the glimpse of her late father in Susanoo, but it fades away. She tells Susanoo that her duty is to seal Orochi, but in actuality, she was dubbed a sacrifice to Orochi the moment she was born. Her father never encouraged her, and all her memories are of her simply watching others from a distance. A cruel reality. On the surface, she may have lost all and any semblance of hope, but deep down inside the crux of her presence, her very soul, she was waiting. She was waiting for someone to have a normal conversation with her, to make her feel loved, for her father to encourage her and come save her. But he never came. It just never happened. She was then sent as a sacrifice and told that she'll never see their family ever again. That is until right now, when Susanoo appeared and saved her. Though Orochi wasn't just going to let this precious girl be taken away, first he sends his snakes before them, and then while they're on the run, he himself appears and takes over Kagura. Susanoo is forced to fight on the defensive, otherwise he'll have to kill Kagura as well. However, as he tries to regain control over her body, she finally remembers his father hadn't abandoned her. He fought till death to try to keep the others from sending his daughter off to Orochi. Her father never abandoned her at all, and now Susanoo wasn't going to abandon her either. He gets closer and uses his own body to get Orochi out of her. In doing so, he was essentially letting Orochi possess him, but now Kagura is safe. Just like that, he lets go of Kagura and tells her to always protect herself even after this. Meanwhile, Orochi continues to consume Susanoo, but Susanoo's presence becomes larger than life as he tells Orochi that he isn't exactly giving up. The man summons a storm, and in the snap of a moment, Susanoo recalls his memories, the beginning, what happened, and what is yet to happen in the past. That's right, even after killing Orochi in the future, he still has to return to the past and sacrifice himself, otherwise everything will crumble. Coincidentally, Kagura's power showed her glimpses of Susanoo's memories as well. She also knows what's next for him, and so she sheds tears as she runs up to hug the big guy. He looks to Kagura and tells her that he won't stop fighting even if everything is already set in stone. Now guys, this is where we turn this into a choose-your-own ending adventure. I don't really want to spoil it for you, but let's just say in the first ending, Susanoo indeed dies. In the second ending, he finds another way, while in the third ending, there is a tragedy. Or is it? Yep, the third one is kind of like a wild card, but that's how we make things more interesting. Definitely share your own ideas as well. Let's see if we can save Susanoo and Kagura from their predestined fate. Okay, ending 1. Alright, so after defeating Orochi in the future, Susanoo bids farewell to Kagura as well as the other Onmyoji who accompanied them both on their travels. In the end, he returns back to the past, fights till his very last breath, and then surprises Orochi by taking it even further beyond. Orochi is surprised, he doesn't understand why Susanoo is going this far. And well, in that moment, Susanoo recalls Kagura and the others. Their images appear right in front of him. He states that he loves them and that he loves the world. That's why he'll protect them till the very end. Orochi is sealed for the time being, the fall of Takamagahara is prevented, and the world survives. The legend of this event is told throughout the ages. Susanoo's sword lies rested on a certain ground, and the flow of time continues. So, ending 2. For this second ending, let's switch things up a little. Let's make it so when Kagura is about to be sent off to Orochi, another Onmyoji named Seimi appears and saves her from the ceremony. It's just around when her father is put down by the others. The image of her father resisting till his last breath as he keeps trying to save his daughter becomes deeply etched into her mind. She wasn't abandoned. No, it's all Orochi's fault. Because of him, her father died with regretful eyes. Seimi and Kagura continue traveling through the lands for several months in order to stay out of Orochi's domain. But you can't hide forever. One day, Orochi gets impatient and participates in this little hide-and-seek. He soon finds them both and knocks Seimi out. Kagura goes completely white. Just like how she lost her father, she's now going to lose Seimi. And well, that's when Susanoo appears and saves the two. Only this time, Kagura's insecurities are different. Rather than getting forever haunted at the thought of how she was abandoned, she's now more afraid by how, because of the circumstances, she'll lose Seimi. And when Susanoo sees this pale look on her, he smiles and reassures her that he'll take care of Orochi. That's his job. There's no reason for them to be afraid. All three of them spend a lot of time together, and just like how Kagura got closer to Seimi, she also gets closer to Susanoo. She resolves herself that whatever happens, she won't lose to Orochi, otherwise the lives of these two will also be put in danger. But Orochi's snakes locate them soon enough, and so, like last time, he tries to take over her. However, this Kagura was resolved. When Orochi starts consuming her, she manages to retain her consciousness. Both Seimi and Susanoo are surprised. Of course, she couldn't flip the Uno reverse card and take over Orochi, but she managed to catch a glimpse of Orochi's mind. As long as fear and conformity exist in the world, Orochi will always respawn. Someone will always have to put Orochi in place. But Kagura's resilience was a double-edged sword. At this rate, she was going to run out of life and ultimately become a part of Orochi. Susanoo foresees this and lets himself get possessed instead. Just like that, he uses his superior presence to lay waste to Orochi, and in doing so, his memories get witnessed by Kagura. She goes completely silent. Seimi asks her what's wrong, to which she explains what she saw after accidentally peeking into Orochi and then Susanoo, and how at this rate, even if Susanoo goes back and kills Orochi, he will, eventually, appear in the future once again. She starts crying, not just because Susanoo was going to die, but because Susanoo is destined to die without fully executing his job. The look in Susanoo's eyes said it all. His role was limited by his own predetermined fate. But that's when Seimi tells a different idea. What if Susanoo destroys Orochi before he even bears his fangs upon Earth? But this also means that the current Kagura would cease to exist. She was originally born as a sacrifice to Orochi after all, and if Orochi isn't even a thing, she would never be born as well. But for the sake of Susanoo and all the future generations, she presents a certain proposal: to become one with Susanoo. That way it doesn't matter if she is meant to exist anymore. Her prowess that even Orochi was afraid of will always remain within Susanoo as they continue to protect the populace from Orochi for all eternity. Naturally, Seimi and the other Onmyoji they met on their journey are going to forget about this as well, but that's it. Kagura had made the decision. This is for the sake of the world and everyone else, including herself and Susanoo. No one needs to die except Orochi. Following this, Susanoo returns back to the time of prophecy and tells Susabi about what happened. Susabi is intrigued, but somewhat skeptical. However, because Kagura's involvement in the future has already been rewritten, they now just have to carry this out, all be for the sake of a better tomorrow. And so, just like that, Susanoo appears at the very beginning of Orochi and seals him using his heightened prowess now that Kagura is with him. Best case scenario, Orochi will never be able to break the seal. Even if he does, Susanoo can just take care of him once again. But what about the final ending? Well guys, as is the case with any great mythologies, there are not many happy endings. So what if Orochi succeeds in possessing Kagura? Susanoo tried everything he could to make Orochi possess him instead, but it was too late. Kagura was losing her life, that is until she made the conscious decision to end it herself, all for the sake of escaping her own predetermined destiny. Rather than becoming a sacrifice to Orochi, she'll sacrifice herself and Orochi. In the end, Susanoo is left with no choice but to land the finishing blow, or Kagura's sacrifice will amount to nothing. He kills Kagura with an endless amount of regret in his eyes. If he can't even save Kagura, one little girl, how can he be their guardian? No. He can't let things end like this. Susanoo resolves that there's no other way to go about this. He'll indeed die in the past, but whatever happens, he'll drag Orochi down with him. Then, when he's back in the past, he does what he failed to do while trying to save Kagura. He lets Orochi possess him, and just like that, he kills himself. If Orochi is to respawn or reawaken, he will as well. And while he doesn't know for sure if Kagura will ever be born, in his final moment, he catches a glimpse of a beautiful future where she's seen playing with her father. Seimi and the other Onmyoji are in the background, laughing and smiling. They all have a bright look in their faces. But then suddenly, the vision fades away. It's nothing but a dream. A wish. Now that Orochi is taken care of in the past, Kagura will never be born in the first place. The very existence of Kagura becomes a story that will never be told. What do you think, guys? Is this a tragedy? I know you're all itching to drop your own genius ideas. Go wild in the comment section down below. Plus, I know that you're all itching for some more. Well, in that case, do you want to relive such epic fantasy tales in a world that will let you immerse yourself in many such Japanese mythologies? There's no other way to go about it, guys. Download Onmyoji using the link or the QR code. Whatever option you prefer, and immerse yourself into the endlessly vast lore and wonder of this turn-based RPG. Experience the journey yourself. It's simply a masterpiece. And that's the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading many videos just like this, so I'll see you at the next one.